If you're being paid to lead, you're being paid to improve, you're being paid to make change. And part of that process says, what do you change? What needs improvement? So ground zero is to figure that out as a leader.
Hi, this is Brad Henry. On the podcast, we have stories about the underdog. I've had a lot of victory, but more tragedy in my life has made me very compassionate and perceptive on those who struggle, but those who are not willing to give up. And these stories will hopefully inspire you to become more and be more in life, to give you hope, to know that victory can be right around the corner. And hopefully today's story will be that one to put you in a great mindset to know that everything in life is attainable with persistence and hope. So thank you for listening today, and I think you will really enjoy our channel.
And that started a career, Brad, 40 years in the chemical industry. I worked my way from engineer to a department superintendent to the youngest plant manager at Allied Chemical Corporation. I stayed with them for 12 years.
Now, as a plant manager, how many people would?
The first one I managed had about 150 people in Southern Ohio. And then later working for Occidental Chemical for 28 years. I was a plant manager in several locations in Wilmington, North Carolina, Houston, Texas, Niagara Falls. At Niagara Falls, we had under 1,000 people there. It had two different unions plus a non-union part of the plant. It was an old plant, had new technology. I mean, it was a mix of everything.
Did you have to work with the union people?
Yeah. And we negotiated one of the
Oh,
longest union contracts in the history of the plant. We worked with the community. I mean, it was an old chemical plant, and that was where Love Canal, you might have heard that
oh
name.
yes.
Yeah, the plant that I ran had formerly been owned by Hooker Chemical. It was bought by Occidental Chemical. And when Occidental bought it, years later, the city started to dig up ground in an area that Hooker Chemical told them never dig here because there's stuff underground. Well, the city went and dug it up, and then all the stuff started oozing, and it became a major Superfund site. When I got there, fortunately, everything had already been cleaned up. My job was to still maintain this responsible care and safety and environment for the Love Canal area that's a part of Niagara Falls, and work with the community about community relations and safety and environment. And proudly, we improved the plant operations from one of the poorest safety records to one of the best in the corporation. We went from mediocre profitability to twice getting performance awards for results for our corporation, while at the same time improving safety and the environment. So, yes, Brad, I worked from small chemical plants to large as plant manager. And then we can talk later in more detail, switched into the business side of it and was a vice president of a plastics division that had no profitability in about 7 years. They couldn't sell the business. They said, well, Lynnworth can't make it any worse. Put him in charge of that. And in my first year, we made a profit. Second year, we
Oh,
had a 40% increase in profits. And the third year, they promoted me to senior vice president with 5 vice presidents around the world doing
oh,
business. So, I mean, it's been a fun ride and dealing with ups and downs along the way. I hope I'm not getting off in tangents.
no,
You don't.
no, very interesting because I think that knowing you, I don't think I've ever seen you raise your voice or get mad. Uh,
Doesn't do
uh,
much good.
Now, you could have, but I think your leadership and the way you've been able to succeed has a lot to do with, in any negotiation, you want to have a win-win for both.
Exactly.
And I think that your ability to listen, you know, some CEOs will come in and say, hey, my door's always open. Well, the door may be open, but not their mind.
At the ears.
I believe that you were truly interested and willing to change if somebody said something that made a difference, and that catches on to
Yeah,
people.
yeah,
And I think that you build a reputation that, hey, I can talk to this guy. That's a um, tyrants, people who are just mean and yell. I close down. Um,
yeah,
but people who encourage and are open,
yeah.
that creates imagination within the community.
Absolutely. One of my top priorities always when I'd move into my new jobs, and the plant manager ones are easy ones to relate to. You're coming in as the new kid in town, nobody knows you. You got an organization anywhere, in my case, from let's say a few hundred to close to 1,000 people, spread out geographically, depending on the footprint of the manufacturing plant, a lot of times different sections. And you're coming there, nobody knows you. And you don't know what they need yet because you're new. You have to figure out what can I do to help? What's a leader do? A leader makes change. If you're a status quo leader, you may as well be a bureaucrat, right? Just keep doing the same thing. If you're being paid to lead, you're being paid to improve, you're being paid to make change. And part of that process says, what do you change? What needs improvement? So ground zero is to figure that out as a leader. And my priority was always get out there, look and listen. Like you said, thank you for commenting on that. The first thing I would do, I would have my administrative assistant say, give me a list of everybody's name and where they work. I get goosebumps just thinking about it because I enjoyed the
You're
process.
passionate
Yeah.
about this.
And I started, whether it was a plan of 150 people and it maybe took a few weeks, or as a plan of close to 1,000 and it maybe took a couple months. I went with my checklist, and the first thing I did, I'd go to my office, drop off my brown bag lunch, put my books on the side, and get out in the plant. Hard hat, glasses, and go out in the plant. I'm not going to get tied with my butt to the chair with the first phone
Yeah.
call that comes in and the whole day is lost. Out in the plant with my little pocket with the people I've not yet met.
Wow.
And I went to every control room, every maintenance shop, every spot in the plant where those people were. And I didn't go in and say, hey, I'm Artie Lynnworth. I'm the new sheriff in town. Nice to meet you. My way or the highway, and goodbye. I went in and asked, tell me about this place. I'm new. What do I need to know?
Wow.
What needs fixing? What do you see? And when I would go, I would have people tell me, Artie, I've been at this plant for 20 years. I've never met the plant manager. You're the first guy who's come in to talk to me.
Oh,
And what a wealth of information I would get. And, I've been around the block a little bit, and walking around, you see things. You see, is it cluttered and dirty? Is it disorganized? Are people walking around with a sourpuss, or are they acknowledging with a little bit of friendliness and happiness? Are they following rules? Are they walking around with their safety glasses, or, doing this kind of stuff? You see a lot by walking around.
yeah.
And I always told them, follow the chain of command. If they tell me about an issue, I'd say, have you talked to your supervisor about that? Okay, make sure you do. But then I would keep notes and come back. And when I would meet with my staff, I'd say, well, what about this issue? What are we doing about that? That seems like a problem. And little by little, that
Now
flywheel starts to move.
you bring up a good point. If my supervisor is really not a great guy, and I give him information that he doesn't pass on, and how do you? Because you've been told by somebody underneath him, you
Right.
know in your mind that this needs attention. So is that supervisor open to that change? or is he going to get mad that he knows where that question came from?
Well, it comes to how you deal with people. You know, if you rat him out, he's he's not going to be too happy with, you'll get the minimum
Yeah.
response, maybe just to fix that issue because he had to. But a lot of times I would start walking around with those chains of command. I'd say to the area manager, let's go out into your area and walk and let them see the things I'm seeing. It starts to get obvious. Or maybe just ask a question, like, hey, Jane, why is that like that? Oh,
You are great at transparency.
yeah.
And I
Well,
think, hey, if everything's transparent, things will come out.
we have to, Brad, you're right. We have to live in our own skin, not be inauthentic. Yeah. I had a good friend in human resources. Uh, and at some point, he said I was a plant manager. He was my human resource guy. And he kind of whispered in my ear and he said, Artie, I know you're bound for better things. And when you move up to the C-suite, you probably ought to tamp down your cheerleader spirit. That doesn't fly too well in the corporate corner offices. I liked him. I respected Paul. I knew he was sincere and wanting to help me. He was a good friend. So I tried that. Okay. You talk about transparency. What I'm relating to is be yourself.
Yeah.
I'm not trying to be a false shell. I am who I am.
Yep.
So for a while, I tried to tamp down my boyish enthusiasm, my cheerleader self. It did not feel real. It felt obscure. It felt opaque. It wasn't me, and that didn't last too long. I went back to myself, and obviously my boyish enthusiasm and passion and transparency seemed to work, so that I could be a senior vice president someday and be responsible for international operations. But yes, sincerity, you can't fake sincerity.
Uh,
Transparency, let them know who you are. Listening skills, you're key on that. I mean, you're a master of this stuff, I know. Listen, learn, react, reinforce. We could talk a whole podcast on positive reinforcement. Aubrey C. Daniels, get the most out of people through positive reinforcement. That became my modus operandi. That was how I worked. I would be myself, learn and listen, and motivate for improvement, continuous change, make things better. And it was better for them. I mean, when we were fixing things and when people were safer, they were healthier, they went home the way they came to work. They felt proud about themselves when we start winning corporate awards instead of being looked down on. I was like, well, you folks can't do anything. I mean, it's self-fulfilling for everybody.
I think some things you just said brought me back to your time at Syracuse on the gymnastic team. Um, Community, teamwork. Um,
Right.
you know, nobody's bigger than the team. Um, and I would say that you're a rare individual in the fact that a lot of CEOs do get locked up in the C-suite and don't get down to understand that level on the floor. But boy, the workers love. They want to talk.
Yeah,
They
they want to be seen and heard. Right.
Yes, yeah, and appreciated.
Exactly.
I think there was a study that they'd rather be appreciated than paid more. Um, Not that there's a
They
black
want
and
they
white
want money
answer.
too. No, but you're right. You're right. I mean, you can be paid well, but if you don't feel respected,
Yeah,
heard, or
right,
or wanted,
right,
you'll find something better and paid well.
right. Now, how long did this take? You can't put a timeline on success, but you can, you know, it's say how to eat an elephant.
Right. Yes. Like, well, as long as you put a plug in there, I may as well mention, you know, one of the books I've written is Slice the Salami, Eating the Elephant, Tips for Life and Leadership One Slice at a Time. And I'll mention quickly,
And where can people get that book?
all of my books under the author Artie Lynnworth, me, are available on Amazon as either softcover books or ebooks, and one of them is an audio book. There's a book on life and leadership, and we'll talk about slicing the salami and eating the elephant. There's a short one on tips for resumes and interviews
Ah,
over an hour. It's a little booklet. This is a great, great guide. It'll take you a little over an hour and get you 80/20, 80% of what you need to know to be ready for an interview. There's a book on fitness, get fit and stay fit for life.
huh.
And that's me doing stuff.
Oh, good grief.
But
That's
here, here,
you?
this was at about 60 something years old. So, and then the book on tips for life is also in Spanish for those who prefer to speak in that. And all my book royalties go to charity. So I'm not pushing
Oh,
books to try to make money. I made a good uh, income through my career. I have a good
and
retirement. So
is
I
there a
just like
certain charity?
yes, yeah. My brother, sadly, my brother and his wife's son passed away of brain cancer when he was in high school, just after high school. And before he passed away, he was significantly disabled
Oh,
from the surgeries and things. And they started in Toms River, New Jersey, a camp for able and disabled kids, teenagers, to enhance their life despite their condition. It's called Team Randy. Anybody can donate to Team Randy, and all of my book royalties go to Team Randy.
oh, wow.
And
That will be listed below.
yeah, we can do that. But to your question about eating the elephant, which got me off on on the slice the salami conversation. You asked in success, when do you know you're there? Maybe the question was something like that. It's a process, but I can remember the moment. I mean, I had lots of little successes and felt good in my job and had promotions going along the way. But for me, a big step was after not quite 10 years in industry after college. I had completed my master's in administration. I started as an engineer. I became a maintenance department head and then an operations department head. And finally, I was ready for that next big step, plant manager, which meant moving away from a place I had been for close to 10 years. It was a big plant, knew all of the management people, knew many of the employees, going with my wife, Margie, to a small town in southern Ohio to be my first time plant manager at this point, the youngest in the corporation.
Wow.
And I remember Brad like it was yesterday. I had my first little staff meeting. We got to meet each other and then we're going to sit down and I'm going to introduce myself with the staff. And I'm sitting at the desk. And then I have my operations manager, my engineering manager, my human relations manager, my finance manager, my health, like a nurse. It was um, a tar distillation plant, so a lot of toxic chemicals. So they had a full-time nurse on site. So she was there, safety and environmental manager, all of the folks sitting around my office. And I'm talking to them about who we are and what we have in front of us. And Brad, in that moment, I felt comfortable. It's a goosebumper again for me. I'm looking at my team
Wow.
and saying, we can do this. Whatever it is we got to do, we can do. Whatever we need to do better, we can do. We're going to do it together. That moment for me in a 40-year career stands out to this day as a moment where I said to myself, I know what I'm doing. I can do this. The
And you
preparation,
were
my,
able to do
yeah, from
that because you inspired.
my parents gave me confidence as a kid.
Oh,
My brothers gave me role models to follow. My athletics gave me a sense of teamwork, mission, commitment, passion, persistence,
yeah.
and leadership. My academics showed me I could take courses I didn't like but still pass. And then my early career gave me a chance to see growth and development from engineer box to supervisor box to maintenance box to operations box, now plant manager on my own, 1,000 miles from anybody I knew and from the corporate office. And I was there saying, I like this. I can do this. And we did.
At, I think that in life, it's not about making money because if you put me in a cubicle, I'd jump out the.
Right.
Where's the top floor? Uh, so I think you need to have a passion for something and then work that passion.
Right.
And what do they say? If you like what you do or love what you do, you never work a day in your
Never working. Right. Right.
is when I was a pilot. That was,
Right.
so how did you get down to South America?
Ah, interesting backstory there. There's always a little extra, right? As I mentioned, I had worked myself from the first time in business being a vice president of a plastics division that was doing terrible to one that was successful. They promoted me to senior vice president, and we had a whole new.
I'm sorry to stop you there. I want to ask you. You got into the plastic company. They weren't hardly doing anything.
Right.
Um, what was what would you say was one of the biggest things that made that change from an E grade to an A grade?
Oddly enough, or maybe, of course, it's the answer. It's the same thing I did in the manufacturing plants. I listened. I came into the business um, knowing it had not made a profit in 7 years, knowing our customers were leaving us, uh, knowing we were losing market share, and knowing nothing about running a business. That's another side story, but well, actually, it relates to this story. Again,
But you
guided
didn't
by,
go out and sell the product. You had to inspire. You had to start at the like dig up all the concrete and start.
yeah.
Start.
Well, the first thing was to find out what's wrong. Why are our customers leaving? So I made a point working with our sales group to visit all of our key customers. 80/20. Go to the main ones that are now our customers, but find out what's wrong. But I would go there with my head of engineering,
Oh,
head of sales, as a minimum, sometimes a finance guy with me. I'd go in and I'd say, "Hi, I'm Artie, the new sheriff in town. I'm the new VP of the business. I don't know you, but I want to know you. I've heard we've had problems. I want to hear what they are.
ah,
I can't promise I'll fix them all, but
transparency.
I need to know what they are. And
Yep.
then my team's right here. They're going to listen too. Tell us what you need different, and then we'll go back and see if we can solve your problem and help you."
Wow.
And that was basically what we did, customer by customer. And then we did go back, and then we did figure out what we're not doing right and what we need to do different. And we started to fix it. And then I still have friends with people from, heck, that was like 30, 40. No, it's got to be, yeah, like 30, 40 years ago when we were doing this. We're still on email, we like each other. I was supportive to them. I gave them what they needed, right? I mean, if you got a bad product at the wrong price and you're trying to sell it, and your competitors have a good product at a better price, Why wouldn't they go
Well,
someplace
you
else?
gave them what they needed because you listened.
Exactly. And, part of that, Brad, I'm thinking back now, big picture. I'm glad you're asking this. When we realized what we needed to do, we realized we didn't have the whole capability to do it. There was technology in the world that we didn't have, and we had manufacturing limitations because of some old plants. And long story short, we decided to do a joint venture with a Japanese company that had special technology and was looking to penetrate the North American market.
Wow.
And again, another goosebumper. Long story short, we negotiated a whole new business and we built a from the ground up manufacturing plant in Canada. I'm going to turn you see that shovel?
Yeah.
That's a gold shovel for when we did the traditional, going to dig the ground up to create the foundation for the new manufacturing plant in Canada that was going to provide the highest technology plastics for the automotive industry in Detroit.
Oh
When
my.
you look at a car and you push on your brake,
Yep.
behind the wheel, there's a piston that activates the brake pads going on the disc. That piston is not made out of steel, it's made out of plastic.
Oh wow.
And it's high technology. I mean, we're talking about like NASA space age technology. It's high technology, proprietary, like Coca-Cola recipes. What you put into the mix of the plastics, the compounds, the resins, and the formulation, so that when you mold this little cylinder, it can withstand super red hot heat and not change dimensions.
Oh,
I mean, it's high tech stuff. We didn't have that technology. Our Japanese friends did. We created a joint venture. We gained the technology. They gained market share because they had other products in Japan they wanted to sell to North America. A win-win is a negotiation where everybody benefits.
yeah.
And we built the newest phenolic resin technology operation for molding compounds in North America in that Canadian plant just across from the Niagara Falls and built that plant. So our customers who were supplying, they were the molding people. They took our compounds and they squished it into shapes to make like little flat motors that are in your door so that your electric windows go up and down. How
Oh
does that
yeah.
happen? There's a little flat motor inside the door panel that's housed in a special plastic housing. The brake pads, the molded, the pistons. Our customers wanted to sell more. We made them the product that would allow them to do that. They grew, we grew, we made it happen.
Oh, phenomenal.
And it all started with the same thing when I walked around a plant that looked a little dirty, messy, and wasn't as safe and environmentally responsible as it ought to be. Go and look and find out what do we got to do to make it right. And we did it with them.
And it doesn't have, it's the 80-20 rule, 80% down on the floor, 20% in the office, or maybe 10% in the
Yeah.
office.
Yeah. Yeah. I mean, for me, that was a life changer, the job, because I had been married to Margie 30 some odd years by then and always came home at night. Of course, when I was in a manufacturing environment, 3 o'clock in the morning is when everything goes wrong and you get a phone call and you got to run in. You may be there for the next 24, 48 hours,
Oh,
but I'd be home. When I became a vice president of the plastics division, it was international.
wow.
And we had customers across the USA, from California to the East Coast. We had customers in Europe. A lot of the products were for these automotive applications. So you had all of the major automotive companies, international as well, buying these plastic parts and needing the right material. So we needed to find out what do they need so we could be making the right product. But I spent probably 4 days out of five on the road. That was a make break, could be, for my wife and me, dealing with me gone so much and me learning the exotic world of corporate travel. Yeah, you've been there. You know what it is. You're in hotel rooms and airports and offices. You're not seeing the sights of Grand Paris or whatever else.
Yeah.
So it was a lot. You said 80-20, be there. A
How
lot of
did Margie handle all that? Did she,
she was great. I mean, She was like my right arm, my support, my at-home cheerleader too. And when I was in manufacturing, she was a superstar at computer graphics. She has an undergraduate in a dual major of German and philosophy, was Phi Beta Kappa.
Oh,
She went on to get a master's degree, 2 years in library science. So
my.
very research oriented and technology savvy. I had a good job. She decided rather than take the few library jobs in the Syracuse area, she would volunteer her time. So she became a volunteer librarian. And then she got an interest in the stock market, and long story short, became for 40 years at home stock investors doing options, puts, calls.
Oh,
And
my.
she even had special brokerage rates, if you can call it that, when she with TD Ameritrade, so that she could get a bargain when she was doing her trades because she did so much. She was highly successful and super at computers at the time and computer graphics. She's an artist and did great.
Oh,
Where am I going with this? When I was plant manager, Margie was volunteering to make newsletters for our plant. We never had newsletter. This way, I had every month of an employee bulletin. We had stories about the
oh,
employees. We had pictures of the employees proudly at their work site. And she was helping with that all the way along. And when I got into the vice president business role, she was home more alone. She was busy on the computer, helping me to enjoy the lifestyle I now can investing. But she was also helping with computer graphics and layouts. We made a logo
oh.
for our new joint venture. I mean, Margie was always with me the whole way, whether we were physically at the same place or not.
Does she help with the website at all? Because you um, have great website for all your travels, and
Yeah.
it's very engaging and getting. It's like we can travel
Yes.
with you.
Thank you. And in fact, that'll bring us back to your earlier question of how did I get to South America? When we moved to South America, and I'll backstory that in a moment, we were, again, thousands of miles from family and friends. We had never lived international before. And she, with her computer skills, this is before digital photography, before any kind of simple click and drag web page design. She did the software to create a document that was a web page at the time that was internet capable. We took photos, went to the Photoshop to get them printed. She would then digitize it with a device to turn the physical image into a digital image. She would scale it to size and put in flowing text to be captions and stories. She created our first family website over 25 years ago from Chile, all by herself. And that connected us with the world, with our
Oh,
family, with our friends. That website then went through iterations. And finally, when I retired, she said, Artie, it's your turn. By then, there was easy software for websites. We've kept that website up ever since. You mentioned it. Thank you. We probably have several hundred thousands of photos on our website. And
oh,
in our will, our computer savvy niece who lives in Australia is in our will to keep our website alive, even if it's just to maintain it for one more generation, because there's a family legacy on that website. And it all started thanks to Margie's expertise with computers 25 years ago when we went to Chile. Now, you asked a question about Chile. Do you want to go back there?
yes. And well, a thing that brought up Chile was the fact that you have a book in Spanish.
Oh, yeah, right,
And I don't think you would have written that in Spanish unless you had moved to. And
right.
what's the name of that one?
Yeah, it's the same book. It's just,
Oh,
yeah, it's exactly the same book, just translated in Spanish. And our Spanish tutor, our dear friend Monica Santander, she gets credit for 80,000 words of translation in that book. 19 chapters, 300 pages, dealing with how to make change in your life, how to manage your time, how to communicate effectively, topics on ethics, about life attitudes, about teamwork, and there's 3 chapters on preparing for interviews and improving your resume. She translated it all to
oh,
Spanish. so that people, she was our Spanish tutor when we went to Chile and knew no Spanish to begin with. So
Wow.
she gave us, I always say when we went to Chile, we were like deaf, dumb, and blind. We couldn't hear what people said. We heard, but we couldn't interpret what was being said into our ears. We'd
Okay,
see
I'm sorry. I
we'd
pushed
see
you forward.
yeah.
You're where in the world when you get a call that says Chile?
I
What?
didn't even know where it was really. I knew it was down in South America somewhere. If you look at South America, it's that skinny long country along the Pacific coast, south of Peru, next to the Andes Mountains, and on the other side of the Andes is Argentina and Bolivia and
You're on
Ecuador
the west side
and
of the
Brazil.
Andes,
We're on the Pacific west
Pacific
side of
side.
the Andes Mountains, going all the way. Chile has every climate zone except rainforests. In the north, it's deserts. In the south, it's the Patagonia and icebergs and penguins. It's got
Oh,
everything in between. And in the middle, it's the valley region with farms and all of your off-season, call it our winter, their summer, fruits and vegetables come out of that part of Chile. So,
wow.
how did I get there? That was your question,
Where
right?
did you get the call? What? Yeah, where
Okay,
were you?
I was in Dallas, and at the time, as I mentioned, I had become a senior vice president with five vice presidents working for me with businesses around the world. And those businesses were for our chemical company and what was called the specialty chemicals. They were very unique, like the plastics, very unique chemicals, paid by the pound, not by the ton. Most of what our company did was making bulk chemicals for other industries like chlorine and caustic soda, building blocks, big chemicals. You pay by the ton, by the tank car. Specialty chemicals was a unique niche. The company had a few of those businesses and had the idea maybe if we grew more of those businesses, we could grow as a company. So they hired a PhD executive to come in and run the new businesses, and I got to work for him, and we started to grow the businesses. And we built all of these specialty chemical products, built a new plant in Canada, and so forth. And then, as corporations are, they had a
Huh.
change of they had a change of heart. They said, "Nah, we don't want to do that anymore. Sell your businesses. We want to get out of specialty businesses. For whatever reason, that's not our strength. Let's just stick with the bulk chemicals." So they came to me as senior vice president and said, "You got five vice presidents. Start seeing how you can sell off the businesses. We'll try to find work for those people. Do what you can do." So I worked on that for a while and skinnied it up down to just two vice presidents reporting to me. At that point, I went to our corporate office and I said, "You don't need me micromanaging two capable vice presidents." There was another vice president at my level, senior vice president, who had another part of the business. I said, "Why don't you move my folks under him and see what else you want me to do?" And they said, "Funny you should be asking that. We have a guy who's general manager of our Chilean operations in South America. He went there a few years ago as a typical 3-year expat assignment with his two kids. They were in high school. The whole family's living there. Well, the kids started to grow up and they came back to the US to go to college. So Brad, this young guy with his wife and two kids at home, he's wanting to come back to corporate. So they said, "Artie, how would you feel about an interchange? It's actually a smaller job, but would you and your wife Margie like to go to work in Chile instead of stay here in corporate?" And we said, "Where do I sign the paper?"
Ah,
So that's
wow.
that's that's how Margie and I went to Chile with no Spanish. Really had to look on the map to see exactly where Chile is.
No
Oh, it's down there
Spanish and
somewhere.
yeah, not
And we
knowing.
went we went to Chile for what was going to be a 3-year expat assignment, go there, be the corporate figure, and then go home. We love the people, we love the country, we love the business so much. I spoke to our corporate people after a few years and said, "Let me make a deal with you. I'll stay here till I retire. I don't need to come back to corporate as most expats do. I've been at corporate, was there as a senior VP, been there, done that. Let me stay here and train a Chilean. Why keep bringing a new expat every 3 years, starting from scratch? Many of them, like me, dumb and don't know the language. It's just wasted energy. let me train a Chilean and let a Chilean run his own company.
Wow.
And fortunately, HR said, yeah, that's a good deal. And I said, when that person's fully trained and when I'm ready to retire, we'll keep it confidential till then, we'll make the change.
Wow.
And that guy, Mario Cadu, was an excellent candidate. He was a mechanical engineer. He had been in the plant. We trained him by putting him into sales. He became a sales manager. Then he became the head of sales. Then we sent him to corporate to get a little bit of grooming and be with the muckety mucks up there. And then finally, one day, miraculously, when we were ready, he was miraculously ready. And we made the change. And that was 9 years later. We loved our time in Chile, and I retired from Chile at the end of my 40-year career. And Mario stayed general manager of the Chilean operations for several years till he retired. And one of his subordinates is now the general manager there.
Oh,
All great. Love the people. Wonderful people.
really?
Yep. Monica, our Spanish tutor, is our best friend in the world. We travel the world together. We go all over the place.
Oh,
And in fact, we'll be seeing her in June. She's coming here. We're going to do, that's when we may see
oh,
you.
yeah.
That's,
Oh,
that's with
my.
Monica. That's with Monica. We'll be driving up, hopefully seeing you for a brief, maybe a breakfast together.
Yes, yes.
And you'll get to meet Monica and her
Now, where
husband,
you go?
Gustavo,
You're driving up to.
up to High Point, North Carolina and back.
Oh, okay.
Yeah,
Yeah,
great place. So you'll get to know why we love the people we love in Chile.
that's awesome. Well, I had a printout here. I had talked about him being on this podcast. I said, "Hey, we just talked a little bit about the intro," and within 5 minutes, I get that he has such amazing organizational structure. Um, I'll write things on the palm of my hand. Uh, he is able to just, all the years of experience on where he came from is different than where I came from. Um, and it's amazing what he was able to deliver to me. And I'm like, uh-oh, I'm back in college.
Thank you,
Yeah.
Brad.
And, but it's so profound, all this. That's why you got to get his book and understand a little bit about. Um, a lot of us don't get things done because we procrastinate.
I have chapter 3 in my book is time management.
Mm.
Let me back up. Chapter 1 in my book deals with the concept of slice the salami, making change in your life. The idea, the metaphor there is a lot of times we get excited about making a change in our life. We want to get more fit. We want to lose weight. We want to learn a new language, whatever. So we think of this goal, imagine it like a salami. We're gonna devour this new change in our life, and we start shoving that salami down our throat till we choke. It never happens. We get excited about exercise, we go bananas for 2 days, then we have a Charlie horse and we give up. So the reason that overabundance fails is because it is not self-reinforcing, it's not self-motivating. And it's an impossible task. It's like eating the whole elephant. Use that example. A slice at a time works.
I
So
want
the
to lose 50 pounds and I want to do it in 4 days.
tomorrow. Yeah, yeah. So the chapter 1 of my book is the basis of what the title is, Slice the Salami, Tips for Life and Leadership, one slice at a time. Is that if you make the goal manageable with an increment that can work, a small change that will reward you. You'll feel good about it. Like eating a sandwich. It tastes good, one slice. You're not choking on the salami. Well, that slice tasted good. I think I'll have another one. You have another one. And then you have another one. And before you know it, maybe a 5-minute exercise routine becomes 10-minute exercise routine. You slice your way to your ultimate goal. That 50 pounds may take you a year, but you don't give up after day 2 when you're hungry. You do one change. Maybe you just eliminate one cookie on day one and you stay with one cookie less on day one. And before you know it, you've lost a pound. And that becomes rewarding. So you say, maybe I can give up two cookies.
There's
And
that saying, the more you do, the more you want to do, the less you do, the less you want to do.
exactly. So chapter one deals with how to start that process with a small change in your life, a step at a time. And I'll get to chapter three in a second. Chapter two says, yeah, a slice at a time is great if you have plenty of time. But what if you're a leader, or what if you're in a family crisis and you have to make change with a sense of urgency? How do you change it now? How do you create this change of pace urgently? That's chapter two. And there's the parable about teaching the elephant to dance. It comes from the book Teach the Elephant to Dance, where elephants, when they're small and manageable, are managed by the elephant trainer by putting a big link chain around one foot and pounding a stake in the ground so that you want to keep the elephant there. And the elephant learns by habit when it walks too far, that chain around its ankle is going to stop him, so he better hang around there. Eventually, the elephant gets really big, but he's already been conditioned by the chain around the bracelet. When they want him to stay put, they put a chain around the bracelet. A stake in the ground isn't going to do much. Even if they staked him, the elephant's big and strong. The elephant will stay there until the elephant sees some flames and smells some smoke and realizes the tent is on fire. That elephant is going to haul butt and get the heck out of that tent. Bracelet or no bracelet, stake in the ground or no stake in the ground. And what's the message? As leaders, if we want to create a sense of urgency, we have to communicate in a way that our people see the flames and smell the smoke so they make change. They get moving. And our job as a leader to create a sense of urgency is to communicate effectively. That's another chapter in the book, so that people see things from our eyes, understand the reason change is important. So, chapter one is slow change, slice at a time for long lasting results. Chapter two is how do you create a sense of urgency for quick change? See the flame, smell the smoke. Chapter three is that'd be great if I only had the time to do this. So, chapter three talks about time management. And when you talked about, the discipline to put a piece of paper together and get some ideas down and not procrastinate, which was your point, it comes back to chapter three in the book. Understanding how to manage your time. Time's going to go on. How you manage it, how you manage yourself is what makes the difference. And it simply boils down to priorities. Have a process to evaluate what's in front of you. Prioritize it. You can't do 10 things at once. What's the first thing? Slice the salami. What's the first thing you got to do? Think about the priority and do in a day's time your most important or perhaps the most difficult first. You may not get 10 done, but if you get the most important done, you've made progress
Did
rather
this
than doing
start
nine
from
less
your
important
parents?
things.
Did this start from your parents, do you think? I mean, you always are on top of things. Where did that start?
Yeah, I think you hit the nail on the head. My parents were planners.
Uh,
Yeah, they planned ahead. I mean,
you don't let any, I would say your desk is probably, it may be cluttered with all the stuff you're doing, but you somehow are able to do things right away,
yeah.
respond right away.
I credit it first to my folks for bringing us up with the right way to plan ahead. And there are consequences to your actions. When you plan ahead, more actions happen the way you want them to be done. For me, planning is discipline. It's process. Have a faultless process for how you manage your day. I'm retired. I don't have to get anything done, but I still follow my process. Every night, I think about what do I want to do tomorrow. I have old school. Hang on a second. I want to show you something. This is about as old school as you can get. An
Oh,
accordion file, 31 days to the month, and then 12 months to the year.
oh,
And what I do is with paper, I mean, you can do it now, of course, on your iPhone, but
right.
I like to handle the paper.
Yeah.
This pod outline, which I've not looked at because I know what I want to say. But when I prepared this and you said we're going to talk on the 27th of March, I opened my book to the 27th and I stuck that piece of paper in here. So last night on the 26th, I opened my book for tomorrow's activities and out pops your piece of paper and I put it on my desk, along with a half a dozen other things that I had, for whatever reason, set for today.
Hmm.
Then I'm a little obsessive about this. I know this, but things get done. Then I sort my papers in terms of what do I want to look at first. And frankly, the first thing on my list, I'm going to show it to you, is my birthday list.
Your birthday?
Birthday list.
Okay.
My dear friends, including Brad Henry,
Oh,
is on this page. And when that day comes up, it's in my list. I'm going to send you a little note and say, I'm thinking of you today, Brad.
and also the day I was saved.
I know that's the day I send you my note. That's
Yes.
the day I send you my note. So these two things were on my desk this morning so that I could say a hello to the people I care about around the world and then be ready for our chat when we need to. So backing up, it's process. Decide what you want to do next first, have them in order, and then process through the day. When you accomplish task one, I've sent my note out. Good. Item one is done. What's next on my list? It may not be the thing you put there the night before. Things happen during the day, things happen minute by minute. When you finish a task, look at your backlog of other items to do and resort. You
Now,
may you may
there
not change
were
it. You may not change a thing.
there
Resort
were
what's
things
next.
there on your birthday. Do you
Right.
cross that off with a pen or pencil?
No, well, physically, so long as I see the name and the date, once I send my note, I just put this in the file for the next date I want to send somebody a birthday greeting. Okay. If it's some task I had to do and I get the task task done. Okay. You know, and frankly, hang on, you asked the questions. Yes, I do cross out.
Many people don't know how to do this. I mean, I think that is freedom
We,
to say, "Hey, I can't do hardly anything," because we're thinking about all of the things we need to do
yep.
instead of taking one piece of the salami and saying, "Hey, at least I ate one piece."
Yeah, I mean, I don't know how you'll decide to edit this enjoyable. It's been a pleasure, the podcast. I mean, this could be a module all by itself, just
Oh,
talking time management.
absolutely.
But it comes down to process, priority, and decision. Have a process for how you're going to day by day, hour by hour, evaluate what's important to do next. Prioritize, make the decision of what to do next, and then act. I mean, ultimately, it's act.
Up, at. That's a whole other kettle of worms there. Very few people act. We can have great plans like you had sent, but if we don't have action,
Right, right.
um,
But the two go hand in hand, Brad. If the slice is digestible,
yeah,
you can act.
ah,
When the slice is
ah,
too much,
yeah,
you either have fear or you choke, or it's not rewarding and you stop. So part of that decision
or
process,
too
glad you mentioned it,
overwhelming.
part of that decision process is deciding how big is the next step? What is the next step first? How big is the next step? you know? So that's a sub part of the process is deciding what comes next, but also deciding how big a step to take so you can be successful.
Well, I think going back to your first job where you went out and talked to everybody in the factory, I don't, at least my perception is you didn't have a timeline. You just had, I want to get out in this
Right,
culture and do it.
right, right, right.
And if you were to set a date and say, oh, I got to see everybody within 2 weeks, it would have been too overwhelming.
Right. And then it becomes you're checking boxes instead of engaging, right? I mean, if my point was I have to see
Ah,
150 people in
ah,
2 weeks,
that's
my
huge.
my my objective changes. If my check the box of success is I shook a hand with Jane and Joe, yeah, I've checked that box, but that was not my objective. My
Yeah,
objective
because
was
then you
to
shake hands quick and not get to know
yeah,
someone.
that's the wrong objective. I mean, this was a self-initiated plan, so it's not like I got to show my boss I checked the box. But you have to have the right boxes to check for yourself too. If my idea is just make a name for myself, go out and shake everybody's hand, yeah, I'll check that box, and that's not going to accomplish what I want to accomplish. What I wanted to accomplish was learning. What I wanted to accomplish was engaging. You know, in my book, I mentioned for a while there was that big term of management by walking around. That was being promoted, go out and meet the people. But if you meet the people on a superficial level and they've not seen you before, maybe never or seldom, Brad, what's going to happen? What kind of conversation is going to follow? Probably one of two things. One, it'll be so shallow, like, "Hi, Artie, nice to meet you. Boy, our local sports team didn't do so well today. The weather's always changing here." It's superficial nonsense. Or if they feel, "Phew, this is my one and only opportunity to talk to the new plant manager," they'll get you by the jugular, and you're going to only hear bitches and moans for the next till you can escape from the room. So if you're there kind of floating through, you'll have one or two things: superficial conversation or just negativism because they want to get you while they can. But if you come in posturing to sit back and let's talk, they sense they don't have to be rushed to get their message out. They sense you're engaging with them. This is sincere. I talk about folks about techniques for engaging and building rapport quickly. I give them one word: curiosity. Pair it with another one: sincere curiosity. Be interested in the other person, and then
Yeah.
it's easy to get engaged. I mentor people. For 25 years I've been mentoring with a company called Mentium, Menttium. People can look it up. Great company. It matches an volunteer outside mentor with skills to translate to an inside corporate person to help them
Oh,
grow to help them grow. And some of these executives I coach, believe it or not, they're at a stage where they got to get used to dealing with the C-suite people. They're nervous and hesitant. How do I strike up a conversation? Sincere curiosity. Just learn about the other person. Find out about them. What are they interested in? And
people want to talk about themselves.
people want to talk about, it goes back to Dale Carnegie. People want to talk about themselves, and it's not being false, it's not being
No,
inauthentic,
you got to
it's not
be
being it's
actually
not being
interested.
manipulative. If you're
No.
sincerely
Yeah.
curious about them,
Yes.
you will engage with them, they will
Yep.
engage with you, and they'll like you. So back to the walk around the plant. Management by walking around is not the answer. Checking the box, "I've been there," is not the answer. Sincere curiosity and engagement is the answer. And that was my goal, and it didn't have a timeline. I mean, I knew mentally 150 people is going to take a
That's
few weeks.
huge. That's a T-shirt company there. Sincere curiosity. Uh,
You're the
and
marketing
like you
guy. Let's
said
do it.
about humility, you can invent it.
Yeah.
Um, I don't. Um, for somebody who's arrogant, um, disrespectful, how can you change? in a way to be um, um, open and honest and change? Or does it take life's tragedies to bring you to your knees to change?
Well, both. People generally don't change much unless they have a significant emotional event. And that may be a tragedy
Like
or something
the elephant with the flames
with the
coming.
flame. Yes, something really drives them. The only other reason people change is because that change is positively reinforcing for them. You know, when I coach, I used to do motivational presentations at our corporation because we were looking to change, particularly in the area of safety and environment. We wanted our company to be seen as a leader in safety and to be seen as a leader in the communities, responsibly managing our plants, environmentally safe and sound, keeping the chemicals in and not out. And it's a cultural thing from the ground up. It's not a plant manager job. It's every employee's job to work safely and to be clean and operate the plant well. So, Brad, you asked about people making change, and I believe there's two reasons people will change. One, there's a significant emotional event, some crisis. You mentioned like smelling the smoke and seeing the flames, or maybe a death, or something really impactful emotionally that says, I can't do this anymore. I need to do that. Maybe they hit rock bottom, whatever it is for the person. Some significant emotional event makes them change. The other reason people change is because they perceive the change as favorable to them, positively reinforcing in psychological terms. And I usually, in fact, in my book, I'm going to show you a quick image here. You know, are you a change maker? When I was in my corporate life, we were trying to change cultures in a number of our facilities to be safer and more environmentally
That was a
responsible.
dollar bill.
Yeah, that was a dollar bill and some coins, is what the picture was. You know, are you a change maker? Can you change a buck for
Ah,
some coins? Yeah. This will get back to my presentations. When our corporation was trying to change cultures to make our plants safer, to make our plants more environmentally responsible in the community, it had to be something from the plant manager down to the rock bottom position, maybe the janitor. Everybody had to be on the same page for focusing on these key priorities. So it's a culture change. It's not just one or two individuals being trained and coached. I was fortunate to have success with our organizations where I was as they moved me from plant to plant. Lo and behold, the cultures changed and things happened. So they said, Artie, why don't you talk to this group? We have a corporate meeting going on. We're going to have about 50 people from around the company. Talk to them about making change in our culture. And I'd ask the simple question, how many like to change? Barely a hand goes up, right? You know? And I say, you know, I'll give you a buck if you give me some change. We played with that. That's why that was in my book. But then I'd ask the question after nobody raised their hand because they like change. I said, all right, picture, if you will, your favorite pastime. You're a golfer. You're a pickleball player. You're a carpenter. Whatever it is. And now I'm going to offer to you the world's best coach in those techniques. Would you like to spend a day with this coach? Yeah. And the coach tells you, hold your head down when you swing. The coach tells you, wait for the ball to bounce before you hit it. You going to try it? Oh, yeah. Is it working? Yeah. Wow, this guy's a great coach. You going to change? Yeah. Goosebump moment for me. I don't know why I get off on these things. What's the difference between do you like change or do you like change? Nobody likes to be changed. Brad, you're going to do this tomorrow. Hold your head down.
uh,
Brad, you're going to do this tomorrow. Be safe.
goodbye.
People will change when they see for them it makes their life better. I'll listen to my golf coach if my golf game gets better. I'll listen to my manager if I realize I'll go home safer if I wear my safety glasses. done in a positive way. When I would walk through the plant, there's a good book called Managing by Influence. And there's a phrase in there that has stuck with me since I read the book. It says, you can never not lead. You can never not lead. As a leader, people are looking at you. Whatever you do are signals to them on your leadership style, on what you prioritize, what you believe in, what you're transparent about, what you're just giving lip service to. And if I walk through a plant and some guy's working like this without his safety glasses on, I'm not going to go and read him the riot act and kick him in the butt and tell him you got to wear your safety glasses. That's going to last as long as till I my back is to him, and then his glasses are going to come right back off. It begins with a simple gesture, walking through the plant, acknowledging that I see him in an unsafe behavior and that for his safety, I care about him. Wear your glasses. No big deal, but a behavior changed. He puts it on. The next day, I'm walking by and I see him with his glasses. Positive reinforcement. If the next
But
day they're
for
off
him to put
again,
those, when the first thing that you did this, if he didn't respect you, that 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 goes back to the culture of meeting with everybody,
well,
knowing
right, right,
that
yeah, all these things tie
you
together.
care
So,
about him.
so if the second time he didn't get the thumbs up, then I would likely change my route and talk. Let's talk about this. Why is it important? Why do I care that you wear your glasses or not? Why should you care whether you wear your glasses or not? You have a family at home, they care if you're blind or not. Something's going to get in your eye. You have a conversation. And then finally, some people never want to change. You got to deal with that. There are consequences to behavior. So it's progressive, but it begins in the most positive way. Positive reinforcement creates a behavior that is unlimited in its performance. It will tend to look for the recognition, it'll tend to look for the reward and go above and beyond. Negative reinforcement stops the bad behavior only enough to avoid the consequences of pain, being yelled at, being punished, whatever. So a leadership style has to be geared, in my opinion, to sincere engagement so people respect you. You hit the nail on the head. If they don't respect you, they don't care what you say.
Right.
So you have to have a sincere personal
They
connection.
will when you're walking around them, but the
And then
minute you
it's just
leave,
it's just for show.
yeah,
So it starts with that, and then it goes to positive reinforcement for the behaviors you want to see. It's like training animals to do jumping. I'm not talking about people like animals, but we are in that respect a million years of biology. We move in the direction of reward, and we'll do the behaviors that reward us, and that's how you get animals to do tricks, and that's how you get people to improve in their performance, self-improve by learning behaviors that reward them and succeed. So when you ask the question, what makes people change? Significant emotional event or positive reinforcement of a behavior that moves them in the right direction. Slicing the salami, they're not going to change overnight, but reward the behavior that moves in the right direction, and eventually you'll get where you want to get. That makes sense?
absolutely. I think that the wisdom you have, we could do one of these a week that really helps change culture in in a family and in
Right.
corporate America. It's kind of the same thing.
You know, when I wrote this book, the title was different. It was Slice the Salami Tips for Life and Leadership, one slice at a time. It began with tips for leadership. And my sister-in-law, who was an IBM programmer for her career, very detail oriented, was a good editor. I gave her the draft of the book, and she said, Artie, I loved your book. I never wanted to be and never was a manager. But what you wrote in this book resonated with me about things I could and should do different in my own life. And I said, Bibba, you're right. I'm going back through the whole book from page one to the last page, and I rewrote sections to connect these tips to life. You hit the nail on the head. What we've been talking about, whether it be time management, behavior change, culture change, all of it is life, not just corporate leadership.
I think maybe that life part turns into corporate leadership,
Well,
not the
it's
other
true. If
way.
you lead the right life, you'll lead a
Yeah,
corporation a whole lot
yeah.
better.
Where was that thing you had with the birthdays or okay.
That,
I
yeah.
would like everybody that is listening to this all over the world is to put down, get a list and put down somebody you care about. What their birthday or maybe an anniversary or a moment,
Or first baby born or whatever. Yeah.
and email them on that day.
That's
I
all.
I think that is a huge start, not only in a family, but in a corporation too.
Yep.
You were hired this day. We are so glad to have you. You were hired back on whatever day, and those small things make you realize they really care about you, that they
Well,
even
but
remembered it.
it comes back to sincerity.
Yeah,
You need to care about others. I mean, if you don't care about others, you don't belong in society and in the world, right? I mean, you're not living right. But if you care about others, or if you don't care enough, start to care about others because it can be rewarding. If you send somebody a birthday note and they write you back, that's a reward. You feel good. Ah, I'm glad I wrote to them. That may encourage you to write more of those nice notes to other people. And even
how
if they
about
don't,
writing notes? Do you write notes anymore?
no, now everything's on the computer,
Yeah,
more or less, yeah. But
right,
even if they don't write back, you don't have to be patted on the back for everything you
right,
do. At some point, we have core values that should be nice to others.
right,
This
right.
kind of gets to the golden rule. There's nothing wrong with the golden rule. In my book, I have a chapter called the 4-to-1 rule, and I liken it after the golden rule. Instead of saying be unto others as you would have others be unto you, I say be unto others 4 times before you expect anything back from them. So don't be checking the boxes to see how many, did I give 3 attaboys already to Brad? The next one, he better give me one back. No, it's a philosophy of life. Be nice to others. Don't expect an immediate return and reward for everything you do. Think about it on a 4-to-1 rule. Be helpful to others 4 times before you're even thinking about yourself. But it will come
Wow,
back to reward
I
you. It
haven't
will
heard
come
of
back
that.
to reward you.
Um, so one of the things we want to leave you with today is get to know the people around you with specific dates for big dates in their life
Right.
of what Artie just showed us. That's a small thing that start with one person and build up, um, and get to know the people around you uh, sincerely, not just to
Excellent.
check a box.
Right.
Um, and if it's just one person a week, whatever it is, at least it's one person.
Right.
So we have a lot. This is just the beginning of something of cultural change. I believe that Artie Lynnworth um, is going to help us all um, change the way we think, and more importantly, the way we act, because we all are thinkers, but very few of us act on what we think. So, Artie, you want to share anything as we leave today?
No, I think, Brad, as always, you put it all in perspective and summarized it beautifully. You lead a noble life. You inspire others.
Hmm.
You exhibit the actions and attributes we've been talking about during this podcast. And I think our world would be a whole lot better if there were more people doing the kinds of things you're doing. And if people can gain anything from the tips we shared today, there's lots more in the books that I've provided. Uh, I feel good about that. I feel good we can help others, and I'm happy to continue doing this with you on any topic you think would be relevant to those who listen to your podcast. So I'm honored to be included. When you talk about a gentleman you spoke with yesterday that's got 150,000 people around the world, and I'm thinking about that's a whole lot bigger activity than I've ever been involved in. I'm honored, Brad, to be part of your group that you consider can share information to your listeners, and I'm happy to help in any way I can. Thank you, Brad.
No, thank you. And thank Marty too.
Sure, I will.
You both are awesome. And um, if you can't afford this book, we will find a way to get you this book.
Thanks.
We have resources to pay for to get you the book, but you need to get Artie's book.
Thank you.
Artie, great to have you and look
Take care,
forward to
Brad.
having you again real
I hope
soon.
so. Good. Take care, Brad.
All right, take care. We'll see you.
All right, bye-bye.
Thank you for listening today. Quite a segment. Hope you got as much out of it as I did and that you learned something from adversity, not giving up, that there's always hope no matter what the circumstances. Please subscribe to our channel so you get all the latest updates and you can see all the past great stories of people who have overcome true adversity and hardships in life. I'm Brad Henry. Thank you for tuning in.